Hey kid, yeah, you. Do you like manga Pokemon? Do you like leaks about upcoming games? Then welcome to PLZ April, a brand new month-long drawing challenge where we draw leaked mega forms from Pokémon Legends ZA. Remember, if I break 1,000 subs in April, we're doing a special video where I draw your fan-requested mega Pokemon. So leave your ideas in the comments. If you hate spoilers, this is not the drawing challenge for you. Not that you aren't welcome. Stick around if you want to, but I'd hate to ruin the game for you. Now's the time to turn back, if you have the strength. I see you're still here, you spoiler-loving little freaks, you. Regrettably, I'm going to start off this first design with what some may call a boomer comment. Do you guys feel like spoilers are getting too in-depth? Maybe it's just me, but I feel like when I was younger, spoilers were like, oh, this might be here, that might be there, that Pokemon could be in that game, blah, 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 and it just was kind of surface level. Now we get a spoiler, and it's like, at 12:50 a.m., if you turn on your Nintendo 4DS at this specific location and this game, this thing will happen. Isn't that so cool? And part of me is like, it is cool, but now I know 3 months before I can play the game. Like, I don't know. It feels like there's too much information. That's how I feel about these mega leaks. So, here's my plan. I'm going to ignore all information except for what Pokemon are supposed to get mega forms. That way, we get to have some fun, and I don't know way too much about these games. That being said, what can you really do with Barbaracle? He's a humanoid figure made of rocks and barnacles. It's not that deep, and it doesn't have to be. When we Mega Evolve this guy, to me that means we need to add an additional concept. Kind of like how Ampharos being turned into a dragon was an additional concept. Honestly, I love that Mega, but tell me how you would Mega Evolve that Pokemon by expanding on what is already there. And it's an electric kangaroo sheep thing. I don't know. There's not a lot to work with. When I was brainstorming about Barbaracle, I thought about maybe trying to do a play on the word barbarian. Like maybe some kind of barbarian barnacle man thing. But honestly, I felt like I was grasping a little bit. So I caved, and I just started giving the non-barbarian man barnacle monster more barnacles. Original, I know. But then it really started clicking for me. In giving this Pokemon more barnacle arms, it needed them to serve a purpose. So what could it be? This is where I established the idea of a third, larger piece of rock that could sit between the original two. This new section would host many of the arms and be able to spin freely. Why? Because I think it works like one of those martial arts wooden training dummies with the rotating segments. Think about how powerful a burst of rapid open fist slaps from this thing could be when it rotates it. At very high speeds. This led to the shortened hands on the uppermost section. Rather than being elongated and potentially getting in the way, these two have been pulled closer to the main body. They can stretch out and attack if needed, but primarily they serve as extra eyes because those 4 primary arms aren't really going to be able to see much spinning very fast. Meet Mega Barbaracle. Mega Barbaracle can move each of its 3 body segments independently and will spin them rapidly when attacking. It's unclear if any singular head is in charge, if they take turns, or if they are some sort of hive mind. Regardless, it appears that its many eyes in different directions give it full vision of its surroundings, making them difficult to surprise. Mega Barbaracle's high-frequency attack patterns make them quite formidable. For day 2, we tackled Chandelure, which isn't French, but, we're in Kalos, so I can do what I want, right? But this Mega Pokemon is not trickier than Barbaracle, but definitely I feel like there's more pressure to get it right. This is a Pokemon that for a long time has been the favorite Pokemon of a lot of people. So the stakes are raised a little bit compared to the Barnacle Rock thing. But what can we really do here? I thought about a couple different options. We could make it bigger. Chandelure is a chandelier, but it's not like a very big one. In terms of size, I feel like it's one I'd see at my grandma's house rather than a great dining hall. So that's definitely something we can explore, right? Maybe more bulbs or candle holders or whatever they are. We could also kind of try and add something new, like we talked about Ampharos doing. We could, make it a snake or something. Obviously, this is not the route I'm taking because I couldn't think of anything new to add to Chandelure. I think it's already got a lot going for it, which is why I think it's best to expand on what's already there. It's tricky, but in terms of concept, there's a lot you can do with essentially a ghost fire that eats other ghosts, right? And that's not even mentioning the metal framework that comes with Lampent and Chandelure's biology. We're given a lot of base design that we can expand upon, and that's what I want to do. So, do we just make it bigger? Do we make a more impressive Chandelure? It's definitely an option, but to me, it felt like it was lacking originality. We do see plenty of Mega Pokemon that just get bigger. I think Abomasnow is a great example, and that's one that I love. But for me, that wasn't the route that I wanted to go this time around. Instead, I felt like we should make it into a lamppost. Now, maybe that doesn't seem like an upgrade from a Chandelure, and that's totally fair, but to me, I think about it as a size thing. This is a much, much larger version of Chandelure. It's kind of like the Alolan Executor to Chandelure's Executor. And I do have a reason for doing this. Chandelure has some interesting lore. I'm just kidding, it's pronounced lore. It's got cool lore. Basically, it's a ghost that uses fire to burn up other ghosts that act as its fuel, if I'm understanding the Pokedex entries I've read properly. But to me, that sounds like a pretty intensive task. I mean, you've got to seek out these souls wherever they're going to be and eat them to burn them up. But why not just draw them to you? Like a moth to a lamppost. I know that's not the real phrase, but trust me, in the States, I don't know where you guys are watching this from, at least where I grew up and still live, if you see a lamppost in the summer, you are going to see it surrounded by bugs. And that's what I want this Pokemon to do to the spirits of the dead. It should draw them in naturally with its spectral flames. And that's why I think a lamppost really embodies this evolution of lore for Chandelure. Meet Mega Chandelure. Mega Chandelure has a considerable amount of firepower, but it trades this for a lower amount of mobility. It is said that spirits are drawn towards its spectral light, but burn up in Chandelure's flames, leaving them lost for all eternity. I'm going to tell you guys one of the deepest truenesses that I know in my heart. And you're not going to agree with it, and that's fine. Not everyone knows what the truth is, but I'm going to tell you right now, Chesnaught is the coolest starter Pokemon from Kalos. Oh, Ninja Frog. Oh, Witchy Fox. Oh, look, guys, you're telling me that you want to fight Spiky Armadillo? No, that guy is the king. And honestly, probably king of my heart if Mudkip wasn't real, because Mudkip is my favorite. But Chesnaught is so good, and he gets a lot of hate, and I've never understood it. He's always been my favorite. He's always been cool, and I think he's just misunderstood, which is maybe why I relate to him so much. But that's not what we're here for. No, we're here to look at one of two Colossian starter Pokemon megas we're breaking out today. And honestly, I think the concept for this one is rad. For those of you who don't know, the three Colossian starter Pokemon are based on different archetypes within fantasy. So Greninja is a rogue, and Delphox is your witch or wizard or mage or whatever you want it to be. And Chesnaught is actually the knight, which I think is really cool. Also, kind of undervalued because he just has spiky shields, right? He doesn't get a sword, he's not Empoleon, but he's still supposed to be a defensive Pokemon that embodies that big protective knight persona. Now, you're probably saying, a knight with just shields, I mean, what's that guy gonna do? And let me tell you, he's gonna take the super soldier serum from a German scientist who defected from Nazi Germany, and then he's gonna go kick a bunch of Nazi butt, and then he's gonna get frozen in ice, and then he's gonna find out when he wakes up some 80-something years later that his best friend is also alive because the Russians messed up with his mind. And I probably lost you guys, but the point is, shields can do a lot, okay? They've saved the universe multiple times over in all the movies I've ever watched. So, I don't want to turn Chesnaught's shields into weapons. If you can't tell from his original sprite, his arms actually flare out into big spiky shields. They're very cool. I still want them to be big shields. I'm not going to make him throw them around like Captain America. I'm not going to make them any deadlier than they already are. But what I am going to do is make them friggin' huge. Because while they are still shields, they're also going to double as wheels. I'm turning Chesnaught into a living cannonball, whatever it is. He's a big spiky ball who can roll around at top speeds, and then he's going to slam his tail into the ground, launch himself in the air, and destroy castle walls like it's nobody's business. This guy is a one-man shield tank destruction nightmare for any stone structure within a 200-meter vicinity. Meet Mega Chesnaught. Mega Chesnaught's shields are harder, stronger, and bigger than ever. Now so large that they can be used as wheels to roll Chesnaught at high speeds. It even has been seen using its tail to launch itself like a living cannonball and destroy entire buildings. You would think, for someone who's made a drawing challenge for themselves and anyone else who wants to participate, that person would be prepared, right? You think they would have probably ideas for every single Pokemon on the calendar, and they would be really good ideas, and none of them would be bad. It's a cool thought. I kind of thought that when I made this challenge, and then I realized that I was not prepared, and this is a great example of my unpreparedness. Clefable is an interesting Pokemon. I mean, even dating back to Generation 2, its Pokedex entries say that it's a fairy, which is really cool for the first 5 generations of Pokemon before Gen 6 comes around and fairy type becomes a thing, because now it's just a fairy, and it's not particularly unique from other Pokemon. We have a couple different Pokemon that are just pink ovals with some frills on them. They don't have a ton going for them, which is cool because it makes this a blank canvas, but also hard because it doesn't give me a lot to work with. Clefable stumped me for a bit. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't working. I couldn't make anything that I thought was right. But then I remembered a really weird episode of Pokemon Indigo League that I watched a couple times when I was a kid, and it involved a spaceship and Clefairy, and I believe they came from the moon in that spaceship, and it was a whole big thing, and basically it introduced this idea that Clefairy, and by extension Clefable, are actually aliens, which is funny because all their Pokedex entries say that they're fairies, but then the anime came along and said, oh, they're aliens, and people just think they're fairies? Who knows? I'm not gonna worry about that, but all you need to know is that Pokemon said they're aliens, so what I've done here is not technically wrong, okay? It's defensible at least, right? I have turned Clefable into more of an alien than it was previously. I've done this in a couple ways, okay? You're going to notice that, first of all, its base form doesn't look too much like an alien, so we had to spruce it up a bit. This involved turning its horns into more of a crescent moon shape and then giving it a third horn on top, and I also gave them all little radio antenna balls. I thought that was a fun touch. Also, Clefable has a big swirly-whirly chameleon tail type thing in its base form, so I've actually decided to wrap that around its body, give it a couple spots to kind of give this illusion of like the rim of a UFO, and then I also messed with its wings a little bit. They're supposed to each look like half of a star, so that from behind you kind of get the silhouette of a star, and this is also true of its body, right? With the extra horn on top, you now have 1 point on top, 2 points on either side, and 2 points on the bottom using its arms and legs. Meet Mega Clefable. Mega Clefable appears to be a manifestation of Clefable's true alien nature. Its 3 unique horns seem to be able to pinpoint sounds from any direction, as well as receive and transmit radio waves over great distances. These Pokemon seem to lower gravity in the area around them as they moonwalk, even on Earth. For those of you who excelled at kindergarten math, welcome to the party. You've probably realized that we've done 4 Mega Evolution and we only have 1 left, and that's Delphox. Before I say anything about it, I'm just going to remind you to subscribe because I want to hit my goals so that we can all make cool Mega Pokemon together. I don't know, that could be fun. Tell me what you think. I don't know, could be fun. Here's what I'm going to say about Delphox, and this is going to sound maybe a little sacrilegious just because I really love Chesnaught, but I also really love Delphox. In fact, I'd actually go as far as to say that Kalos might be one of my favorite trios of starter Pokemon. And you could say that's nostalgia, but I never got to play Gen 6. I still haven't. I played Auras, but I don't think that counts, right? Omega Ruby, that's like Gen 6.5 or something. Regardless, I just like these starter Pokemon. I've never played the games. Delphox is really cool. And correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's one of the first Pokemon to really have a prop. Now, obviously, I think Farfetch'd takes the cake there, but Delphox is in rare company for having a stick. It's just holding a stick. I love it. It's a wand, right? It's a wand, but it's holding a stick. And that stick is what helps us identify it as a major wizard or witch. I like to think witch because it's obviously a feminine Pokemon, right? They're leaning into it. But I don't want to just make more of a witchy Pokemon. I want to evolve specifically Delphox's magical abilities. It actually has some very cool Pokedex entries that tell us that it meditates by staring into the fire on its wand, allowing it to see the future. That's crazy. That's like so overpowered, and I feel like it's one of those Pokedex entries that we just kind of gloss over and forget about until many, many years later when you have to make a mega form for that Pokemon. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not going to really mess with the physiology of Delphox. I think it's pretty much where I want it to be. I'm just going to give it more of a mage aesthetic, right? I want it to be like a grand mage, an elder witch, whatever you want to use to affiliate that higher level of magical power. That's the term we're going for here. So I've extended the robe out into more of a tail. It has a tail as well that peeks out through the robe, but instead of like a dress, I want it to have that robe-like feel. We've also made the stick bigger and even taken some of the fur from around its neck and ears, blended them together to create this hood. Now you can see that Delphox itself can hold fire in its palm, while it also has fire within that staff. This is going to allow it total mastery of fire, and I think an ability to see the future pretty much whenever it wants, because it can just look into the fire, right? It's not going to take the same level of meditation that it once did when it wasn't a Mega Pokemon. Meet Mega Delphox. Mega Delphox can see years into the future at any given moment. It is said that those with psychic abilities can stare into its fires and get glimpses for themselves. Mega Delphox has total control over flame and can quell burning forests in a moment. Thank you so much for tuning in to see this week's batch of Mega Pokemon. Next week, I'll have 6 more to show you, and I'm already brainstorming for the 3 Mega Dragon Pokemon on the calendar. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video. If we break 1,000 subs, I am going to draw your favorite Pokemon Mega Forms. Until then, I hope you'll join me in creating new Mega Pokemon every single day this month. Thank you.